Since 2017, a YouTuber named Phil has been uploading videos of his hiking trips to his channel Hike Slam, where he gives his viewers a glimpse into everything he does to prepare for a long hike, camp alone in the middle of the woods, choose the right hiking gear, and pretty much everything related to the outdoors. On the night before Thanksgiving 2021, Phil went on an overnight hike to camp on the Appalachian Trail near his house in Virginia. For the first half hour of his hike, things kick off pretty normally, but after a while, he finds some odd-looking trash lying on the side of the trail. Strangely, there appears to be some writing on some of the containers he finds, which appear to be song lyrics, though it's hard to imagine why anyone would go through the trouble of writing out entire songs or poems on a plastic container only to later throw it on the side of the trail. As he crosses the boundary into the wilderness, things continue to get stranger and stranger, and as he nears the campsite, Phil finds another series of disturbing notes.
The weirdness continues. What the? And there's a dead duck here.
Some of the notes appear to contain cryptic poems, others seem to talk about pretty in-depth conspiracy theories and undercover federal agents or something, and the rest appear to be biographical, with whoever wrote them telling parts of their story. It's tough to confirm if the person who wrote the notes was the same person who killed the duck, but honestly, it would be too much of a coincidence for the dead duck to be lying right there next to the series of creepy notes, which were obviously placed there recently considering they're in good condition and not wet. After taking in the eerie scene, Phil notices a tarp and a fire next to a campsite about 20 yards away from the notes and the dead duck. Staying as far away as possible from the campsite, he continues making his way up to a shelter. Although this next part wasn't caught on camera, Phil then reported that he saw two women coming down the trail with their dog, asking him if he had seen the guy who was leaving the creepy notes and dead animals on the side of the trail. When Phil mentioned he saw a campsite and a fire a few yards away from the notes, the woman got scared and asked him to walk back to their car with them. Thinking it was probably a good idea to move as far away as possible from the campsite anyway, Phil went back with them and then started hiking in the other direction to find a safer place to spend the night. Fortunately, the rest of his hike to the new shelter was a lot more uneventful for Phil, and once he got there, he was able to set up a camp for the night, light a fire, and enjoy his dinner miles away from the disturbing notes he found. A few minutes later, once it got dark, Phil decided to go into the shelter and check out the camp log and see some of the notes and stories other hikers had left behind, and that's when things get extremely creepy again.
I'm gonna check out the shelter log here. I hang out by the fire. Almost every shelter on the Appalachian Trail has a shelter log where people write in their trail names and what's going on. They can write whatever they want in there. So it's kind of cool tradition here. So let's see what this one says. Little engine, back section. Hiking again finally. It's nice and little trail magic. Some comics and writing and stuff. Alright, let's see what's happened recently. Holy crap. Wait a second. Hold on, I'm adjust the camera here. This writing looks almost exactly like the writing that was on that garbage a couple of miles from here.
Even though the shelter where Phil's currently staying at is more than 2 miles away and on the other side of the road from the previous one, the handwriting in the camp log is exactly the same as the handwriting that was on the notes and garbage on the other side of the road. This is pretty disturbing in itself, but it gets even more so when Phil starts to actually read some of the content in the logbook.
In 2018, while I was incarcerated at the Okaloosa County Jail. What the heck? In solitary confinement, I figured the following out. Refer to Isaiah 28:15 through 9. This is the same ramblings from the guy that was on the other side of the river. That's kind of scary. Kind of weird those women down there said they were going to call the police on the guy. Wow, this is weird. It's just like it goes in one direction, then immediately goes in a completely different direction. And there's just so much of it. Like this line up here. Think grave robbery in an attempt to obscure the reality of Little Mrs. Wolf. Content. Come up with some more of those wicked schemes, JB and company, so I can show some more of your true character.
The fact that there's a convicted felon walking around the woods leaving dark and weird notes all over the place is extremely concerning, and based on the kinds of stuff the guy is writing, he's probably not in his right mind. This could obviously be dangerous for Phil, especially since it's already pretty dark and he doesn't appear to have anything to defend himself with. As he gets ready to go to sleep in his tent, Phil walks back to the shelter once more, where he finds half a Gatorade bottle hanging from a string on the ceiling with a note in the same guy's handwriting that reads, "Watch out for Yeet Mouse, the dead do walk and talk." Understandably creeped out by yet another disturbing note, Phil tries to fall asleep in his tent, obviously a little on edge from everything that happened that day. The last thing you'd want to happen if you were in Phil's position would probably be to start hearing strange noises near the shelter in the middle of the night, and that's exactly what happened. While he was falling asleep, he heard something moving near the shelter, and as he poked his head out of the tent, he saw a single guy with a headlamp walking around the shelter. Not wanting to find out if it was the same guy who had been leaving notes, he quietly made his way back to the truck in the middle of the night, checking over his shoulder the entire way to make sure he wasn't being followed. Luckily, he made it back home safely, and as of 2024, he hasn't uploaded another video about the strange notes he found on the Appalachian Trail. It's pretty likely that dozens of other hikers after him came across the disturbing notes and the dead duck, but we'll probably never know who exactly the guy who wrote them was, or what he would have done if he ran into any unsuspecting campers. Grizzly Gaz is a camping channel on YouTube consisting of dozens of videos featuring Gaz, the uploader, going on hiking and camping trips in the UK with his French bulldog named Fendi. In a lot of his videos, he goes camping in some pretty extreme conditions, and he often shows footage of his unexpected encounters with big animals in the middle of the woods. In April 2023, Gaz uploaded a video of a camping trip he made somewhere in the woods in the UK. The first part of the camping trip goes pretty much according to plan, with the footage showing Gaz setting up his tent and chopping wood to make a fire while his dog Fendi keeps him company as the sun begins to set. This next part wasn't shown in the footage, but as Gaz started to prepare his steak dinner over the fire, a random man in jeans and a coat approached his campsite and asked him for a beer and some food.
Right, we've got steaks on go now. Bit of ribeye, pot boiling for some mash, and I've got a visitor. Creeped up behind me asking me if I had a light. Me pants. This is Martin anyway. I don't know him, but he's stopping for a steak, so
just some random creep wandering about.
You went round here in a poncho a couple of months ago, were you?
I don't think I was. I could have been.
Although the encounter with the man itself was pretty tame, it's still pretty creepy to be camping in the woods in the middle of nowhere and suddenly be approached by a random guy asking for things. If you listen closely to what he's saying, some of the guy's sentences are a little incoherent, and he appears to ramble a bit when he talks, almost like he's kind of out of it. Later in the footage, Gaz reveals that Martin was homeless, and that as they shared their dinner, he told Gaz his story about how he had ruined his life with drugs and how he had ended up walking alone in the woods that day. Disturbingly, Gaz also mentioned that while they were having dinner, he turned around for a few seconds to chop some more wood to keep the fire going, and when he turned back around, Martin had left the campsite unannounced without even thanking Gaz for the food. After the strange encounter, the uploader decided to leave the campsite and head home out of fear that the man would possibly tell his friends about meeting some guy camping out in the middle of the woods with expensive filming equipment lying around and suggest robbing him or possibly worse. To see if Martin would come back in the middle of the night with possibly ill intentions, Gaz actually left a trail camera on the tree at the campsite to capture everything that happened that night. Based on his behavior, it's pretty hard to gauge Martin's intentions and know whether he was just confused and possibly under the influence, or if he had something more sinister planned that evening. Either way, it's probably a good thing that Gaz left the campsite and didn't go back until the next morning, especially since when he did go back, his trail camera that he had left was completely gone. Creepy Outdoors is a channel where the uploader frequently shows footage of his nighttime visits to sketchy outdoor locations during all 4 seasons. In October 2022, Creepy Outdoors uploaded a video of a camping trip he took to an unnamed forest in the middle of nowhere, recording everything he saw as he explored some of the surrounding woods in the darkness. For the first few minutes, all you can hear is the guy's breathing, and you can't help but be kind of amazed at how brave it is to visit a dark forest in the middle of nowhere all alone, not knowing if you're going to run into potentially hostile animals or something else. As the video progresses, the uploader makes a few comments and observations on his surroundings, and throughout the footage there doesn't appear to be anyone else in the forest with him. Around 13 minutes in though, an extremely disturbing sound takes the footage in a pretty dark direction.
Oh, hi. What? I need to get out of here. Oh, boy. Oh. Okay. That was creepy. I need to get out of here.
In the distance, probably a couple of 100 feet away from the uploader, a voice yells, "I see you." It's possible that the disturbing sound was made by a coyote or a fox, but because it sounded so much like "I see you," it could have also been another camper trying to mess with the uploader and scare him. Because the YouTuber had been talking and making noise almost the whole time, he might have inadvertently alerted someone else who may have wanted to play a prank on him just for the fun of it. Still, it's hard to imagine why anyone else would be wandering in the same secluded part of the woods as the uploader. What's most disturbing is that the person or animal or whatever it was that made the noise appeared to yell out right after the guy turned off his lamp, almost as if they were waiting for that to happen to yell out something disturbing. Luckily, the uploader was able to make it back to his campsite safely and has continued uploading outdoor footage to this day. Sam is a YouTuber from Cleveland, Ohio, who's been uploading videos of his stealth camping trips to his channel, The Northwest Wind, since 2016. For those of you who don't know, stealth camping just means parking your camper van pretty much anywhere without paying for parking, and people do it anywhere from residential neighborhoods to the middle of nowhere. In January 2024, Sam uploaded footage of his stealth camping trip to the woods in Cleveland, leaving his camper van at a local dog park a few hundred yards away. On his way into the woods, he finds a camping tent that's been shredded to pieces, which is honestly a little creepy, but he keeps going anyway. After setting up his tent in the woods, he starts cooking dinner on a camping stove. As the sun starts to set, he sees a couple of people walking by the campsite, and this is when he mentions that he's getting a bad vibe and feels like he's possibly in danger from them. Most experienced campers would probably tell you that if your gut is telling you something's wrong, you should probably call it a day and leave, but Sam decided to stick it out for the night and kept on recording. As soon as he settles down in his tent to get some sleep, things start to get very creepy.
There's somebody, hang on. I don't know if they could see it or not through the tent, I don't think so. I'm leaning right up against the light, but somebody's walking around out there very close to the tent.
As the seconds pass by, the footsteps outside seem to get louder and louder. At one point, Sam calls out to whoever's out there, but at first he doesn't get a response. It's only after he calls out for about the 5th time that every camper's worst nightmare starts to become a reality for Sam.
They're walking around outside in circles.
Hello? Hello? Alright, I don't like this. Hello? Hello? They're touching my tent. Stop. Hello? Hello? Alright, I'm getting out of here. Hello? Hello? I don't know what this is, but we're getting out of here. Hang on. Hello? Okay, they're walking away now. What do you want? What do you want? I have a knife. Where's my knife? With me. With me here. Holy crap, get away, what do you want? Hello, I can't see you. Hello. All right, I'm getting out of here. We're getting out of here.
One thing that a lot of people in the comments of Sam's video have pointed out is that if you're being stalked or attacked by a stranger in the middle of the woods, it's probably not a good idea to show weakness by saying things like, "I can't see you, I'm spooked, and I don't like this." After this, the attackers apparently leave the campsite, but as soon as he steps out of the tent, Sam sees them standing eerily in the woods just a few feet away from him.
They collapsed my tent on me. I don't know which way they went. I think they went this way. I see you. Get away! All right, I'm spooked. I don't like this. Get my headlamp on and we're getting out of here right now. They're just standing there. They're just standing there. What do you want? Leave me alone!
Completely freaking out after the disturbing encounter, he obviously decides to call it a night and head back to his van in the park, but things only continue to get worse for Sam.
All right, they're moving again. I don't know, I'm getting out of here. We're going. I'll come back for this some other time. All right, let's get out of here. I'm leaving, don't follow me! I don't know where to go. I don't know which way to get out of here. I smell your cigarette, I can hear you! I hear you!
As he's making his way back to the park, he looks back at the campsite and sees the attackers stealing his things, but he decides to leave his stuff behind, terrified for his life. As he's running through the woods now, he turns back and sees his attackers chasing him.
This has got to lead back to the main trail. I don't know where they are. It's all foggy up here. I got water in my headlamp. I don't know where to go. I don't see or hear anybody anymore. I hear them coming. Can't see the shadow. Here's a path. Okay, get me there. I'm recording all of this. I'm calling up police. All right, I'm back on the path. Back on the path. Okay. Okay. Get away from me!
After making it back to his van safely, he drove home and gave his viewers a recap of everything that happened. As you can imagine, a lot of people in the comments accused the uploader of staging the video, mentioning that nobody in their right mind would continue to record as they sprint through the woods in the dark. But his reaction seems pretty genuine to me. Different people act different ways in situations of stress. As for who the two guys who stalked and attacked him were and what they wanted, that's really anyone's guess. If what they did to Sam was some kind of joke, that's a pretty messed up joke to play on someone. But because the uploader confirmed that they didn't end up stealing his stuff when he went back the following morning, it's also clear that looting the campsite wasn't really their main focus. We can't really know what they would have done to him if he hadn't run from the campsite, but at any rate, it's probably a good thing he did. Love Sundays is a camping channel on YouTube run by a guy named Sean who uploads some pretty cool footage of his solo camping trips everywhere in the UK. In February 2024, he uploaded a video where he left his van on the side of the road next to the woods, and then went to do some exploring, jumping over a fence to walk through the woods. After that, Sean makes his way back to his van to make dinner, where he then heads out once again for an evening stroll through the woods. Upon his return to the van, he goes to bed at about 9 p.m., but at 3 in the morning, things start to get a little disturbing.
All being well, I'll see you in the morning. Good night. A car's just pulled up, and it sounds like they're walking around the van.
As soon as Sean pulls back the curtains, the people who were walking around the van get back in their car. When he put his head out the window to see what was going on, the car drove away, leaving him alone for the rest of the night. It wasn't until the next morning that Sean realized what the visitors had done to his van.
Right, well I think we should at least go outside and see how miserable the weather is. My door's stuck. the actual... See that? So here's there's obviously just people wanting to talk about and just be funny, I guess, but how dangerous is that, locking someone in their van? Let me check the back door. Well, there's nothing on this one because they wouldn't have been able to tie it to anything, would they? There's no way they could have done that door anyway.
Why someone would want to lock a stranger in their van is anyone's guess, and the only reasonable explanation I can think of is that maybe they were trying to steal the diesel from the van and put the zip ties on the door in case Sean realized what was happening and attempted to get out to stop them. It could have also been a local who didn't want anyone parking their camping van in that area, but we'll likely never know. Luckily, after he cut the zip ties off, he made it back home unharmed and has continued uploading videos of his camping adventures in the UK. TheFactsByHowToHunt.com is a channel dedicated to sharing knowledge about the outdoors and encouraging people to explore the wilderness. In January 2022, a pretty terrifying video was uploaded to the channel in which a group of teenagers can be seen reacting to some strange sounds coming from somewhere in the woods.
You hear that? Get Trevor. Austin, get the light.
Hey!
That was not an elk. Where's that coming from? Get my keys. Oh, get ready. Everybody, get in my truck.
When you're out in the woods in the middle of the night, it can be easy to mistake certain animal noises with human screams. Foxes, coyotes, and bobcats are all known to make sounds that can sometimes be hard to tell apart from human yelling. But in this case, I don't know of any animal that can make that kind of noise, especially when you consider how loud the banging on the trees was. Elk are known to rub their antlers against trees, but it obviously doesn't sound that loud or menacing. A lot of people in the comments of the video have mentioned that the sounds aren't too different from human screams, and it could have just been a man screaming in the woods in the middle of the night, although that's also pretty messed up in itself. Even though some viewers have claimed the video is staged, the uploader's reactions seem pretty genuine in this case, and the only thing we can say for sure is that it's probably a good thing that the guys didn't run into whoever or whatever was making those noises. At around 11 p.m. on December 6, 2016, a man named Julio Perez went with his friend to a convenience store a couple of blocks away from his house. According to what he shared online 2 days after, his friend had been afraid to go by herself because the store parking lot was known to be unsafe after dark. After spending some time at the store and buying dinner at Carl's Jr., Julio said bye to his friend and pulled out of the parking lot. But just a few seconds later, a red car can be seen pulling out of the same parking lot and starting to follow him on his way home. Disturbingly, as soon as Julio arrives at the stop sign, the red Chrysler can be seen pulling up right in front of him and blocking his path.
So, hit me up tomorrow then. Later. Always. I don't play that shit.
Given the circumstances, Julio reacted much quicker than most people would. As soon as he saw someone about to get out of the red car, he put the car in reverse and skillfully backed away. Unfortunately for him, the driver of the red car refused to give up so easily and continued to follow closely.
man. What you doing, dude?
At one point during the chase, the attackers throw an unidentified object at Julio's car in an effort to get him to stop. This is when he decides to call 911 for help.
911. Hey, man. 911 emergency. Hey, there's a car following me. He's throwing shit at me. I'm on Lomas going eastbound, and he's I don't know what he's doing, man. Hey, Lomas, and what's the closest cross street to you? Right now, San Pedro. It's a red light. Holy shit. I mean, they're I don't know what they're trying to do, man. Oh my God, man. Do you see what it looks like? It's a red Chrysler 300. Holy cow. Are they still throwing things? They're just right behind me. I don't know what they're doing, man.
Although the 911 operator was probably dispatching units as they spoke, it would have probably taken the officers at least a few minutes to arrive, which would have been extremely dangerous for Julio. Luckily, as he's on the phone with the dispatcher, he spots a cop car stopped at a traffic light and pleads for help.
They're right behind me. I don't know what the hell is going on. Oh, there's a cop right next to me. This guy right behind me. Hold on. Hey, this guy right here. Are you still there? This guy right here. Holy. The cops are going after me. Is the officer there with you? No, he just went on a high-speed car chase. Holy cow. Okay, hang on with me. Hang on. I just followed a police officer right now. I'm not sure what the hell just happened, man. How you doing, man? I'm with the 911 operator right now. Listen, I don't know what happened. I pulled out. I was gonna go get some food right there on Central. And then all of a sudden, this car just pulled up right in front of me. I thought they were gonna carjack me or something, man. Okay. And they started to get out. I put it in reverse, and I just got the hell up out of there and went down towards San Pedro and Central.
Did you get a plate number? I wasn't able to get it.
Man, I was... Hell
That's
no.
okay, that's fine. Like I said,
I got it on camera, though, bro.
Do you have it on camera?
Yeah!
Unfortunately, the suspect managed to get away from the officer during the high-speed chase, and it was never confirmed what his intentions were that night. But judging by his behavior, it's more than likely that this was an attempted carjacking. Had the officer not been at the right place at the right time, Julio would have had to stop at the red light alone, where he would have been at the mercy of the attacker. Because neither the cop nor Julio could get the red Chrysler's license plate, the Albuquerque Police Department couldn't pursue the matter any further, meaning that the suspect probably continued preying on other victims on the road. This footage was captured on a random road on the outskirts of Warsaw, Poland on March 30th, 2014. Inside the vehicle is a man and his daughter. The road is pretty poorly lit, and even with headlights on, the driver probably can't see more than 20 or 30 feet in front of him. A few seconds into the video, a car traveling in the opposite direction flashes its headlights at the driver in what appears to be a warning. Unfortunately, the driver doesn't have enough time to react, and this is where things take a pretty dark turn. After swerving to avoid the man standing in the middle of the road, the driver attempts to correct the vehicle's path. However, this is much easier said than done in the heat of the moment. Unable to control the car, the father and daughter fly off the road and come to a rest in a ditch. Although it appears that the man had his back turned to the car at the moment of the incident, there's still no reason to be standing in the middle of a pitch-black road while there are cars passing by. Given the man's irrational behavior, it's possible that he was either under the influence of something or attempting to take his own life. But because the man immediately fled the scene, his true intentions that night are anyone's guess. According to the driver, he and his daughter both sustained minor injuries, and the police were never able to find the mysterious man. In 2018, Lauren and Brian Swenson were in the process of opening a CrossFit gym in Nairobi, Kenya with two local trainers. One day, the Utah couple were on their way to do some filming with their trainers to promote their gym when they suddenly came across a traffic jam on the main road. Soon after taking a detour on a dirt road, the Swensons and the trainers passed two officers on foot with weapons who gestured for the couple to give them a ride. For reasons they didn't disclose, they chose not to pick up the officers and continued driving until they came across a white public transport vehicle stopped in the middle of the road. Although the couple didn't notice at the time, the driver of the white van tried to warn them with his headlights, but they missed the signal, and this is where things get disturbing.
I'd rather assume they do, and that's not good. Yeah. Drive forward, cross. Just drive forward. Drive forward. Hey!
Still there?
Yeah.
Just as they pass the van, three men armed with machetes appear from behind the vehicle and charge at the Swensons' car. Reacting quickly to the situation, the driver immediately shifts the vehicle into reverse to gain some distance. As the men get closer, one of the trainers instructs Bryant to drive forward, and as he does, one of the attackers tries to reach through the window with his machete. In a Facebook post she shared after the incident, Lauren mentioned that when they first saw the bandits, Bryant's window was only partially up, and that he sped back in reverse to buy some time to roll it up. When the bandits attacked the car, the window was cracked a couple of inches, but luckily it wasn't enough for the machete to fit through. As Bryant speeds away on the dirt road, one of the trainers mentions that he could see cops arriving at the scene.
The cops? There are not even cops. The cops behind. Yeah, they're running away. Dang! Oh, gunshots.
Dang.
No, they're running after them. Let's get out of here.
Alarmingly, a shot could be heard behind the vehicle, presumably from the confrontation between the cops and the men with machetes. In her Facebook post, Lauren mentioned that if she had picked up the officers or even let them ride on the side rails as they went up the road, they would have likely opened fire on the bandits. Luckily, the Swensons and the trainers were able to ride away safely, but it was not confirmed if anyone was hurt after the encounter. In May of 2021, a series of storms swept through West Virginia, bringing winds as strong as 70 miles per hour to the region. On May 26th, a woman named Amber Rivas was driving down Route 51 in Jefferson County when power lines started falling across the road. This is what her dashcam captured. With a swift maneuver, Amber manages to swerve off the road just in time to avoid the impact of the power lines. She later uploaded the video to Facebook and thanked the people who stopped to help her. These situations are incredibly dangerous for more than one reason. In addition to the threat of being crushed under the weight of the falling power line, electrocution is also a significant risk. If a live power line makes direct contact with a car or even comes close to it, the driver can be fatally electrocuted. The power line could also potentially ignite the car's fuel, leading to a fire or explosion. Luckily, the wires didn't come close enough to Amber's car to do any damage, and she was able to drive away unharmed. This clip was captured in Chile on February 26, 2022, and later uploaded to Reddit. In the footage that was captured by the driver's dashcam, the white car in front can be seen braking more than is necessary and moving a little suspiciously down the road that leads up to a tunnel. The driver with the dashcam keeps his distance as the white car comes to a complete stop, and this is where things get interesting. As soon as the white car stops, at least 4 suspects jump out and start running towards the driver's car in what we can assume to be a carjacking attempt. Having sensed that something was wrong from the start, the driver reacts in a split second and accelerates quickly. The attackers have just enough time to move out of the way as the driver rams into the white car and takes off the door as he speeds away. One thing that caught many viewers' attention is the fact that the man remained incredibly calm throughout the attempted carjacking. His awareness of the situation and quick thinking ultimately kept him out of harm's way, and based on his behavior, it's very likely that this isn't the first time something like this happened to him. This seems to be echoed by the description that was uploaded to Reddit by the user who posted the video. The caption read, "To give more context, this happened in Chile. I wasn't driving, but I often use that route. Here, this type of carjacking has become so common that it's a risk to get out of the car after 10 p.m., and all drivers have learned to keep their distance from the front cars on exits. There's not a lot of information on this incident online, and it was never confirmed if the carjackers were caught by police or not." In August of 2020, a series of fires broke out across Northern California, causing a wave of destruction, the likes of which had only been seen 5 times before in that area. In what came to be known as the infamous LNU Lightning Complex, multiple fires merged together, burning a total of 363,220 acres, destroying 1,491 structures, and heavily damaging another 32. Caused by a combination of thousands of lightning strikes, a record-breaking heat wave, and strong winds blowing across the state, the LNU Lightning Complex soon grew to be the 6th largest fire complex in California history. One of the largest fires, known as the Hennessy Blaze, originated in Napa County and eventually merged with 7 other fires to burn over 300,000 acres of wildland. On August 18th, just a day after the Hennessy fire started, a man named Tyler Day captured dashcam footage of the walls of flames as he drove through the blaze on Highway 128 and Steel Canyon Road in Napa. This is what he saw. In what looks like a scene from an apocalyptic movie, Tyler drives through the raging fire to safety, capturing this terrifying footage of the burning forest along the way. From the threat of falling trees to melted roadways and blocked paths, driving through a raging fire is obviously extremely dangerous. Luckily, Tyler was able to make it out alive. Sadly, the same can't be said for others, as the fire complex claimed the lives of 6 people and injured another 5 as the flames engulfed entire communities in California. At the time of the recording, the Hennessy fire was 0% contained, and it wasn't until October 2nd of that year that the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection announced that the entire complex had been extinguished. On the evening of Sunday, April 14, 2019, a power line came down at the intersection of Route 70 and Colonial Drive in Manchester County, New Jersey, in the middle of a thunderstorm. The wire ended up falling and getting stuck on a traffic light, and in the early morning hours of Monday, April 15th, an employee with Jersey Central Power and Light went to untangle the wires. Sergeant Hemhauser from the Manchester Township Police Department was parked at the intersection, thanks to which the incident was captured on the dashcam of his patrol car. In the footage, the worker can be seen untangling the wire and pulling at it in an attempt to get it unstuck. Of course, for this to be safe, the power line would have to be de-energized, especially if the ground was still wet. In a later interview, Sergeant Hemhauser claimed that he was under the impression that the power line had been previously de-energized, and it seems as if the worker thought the same thing. But just a few seconds into the video, the worker gets the scare of a lifetime when the power line touches the ground. As soon as the wire makes contact with the wet road, it bursts into flames. The worker can be seen immediately dropping the wire and leaping back in surprise, obviously not expecting the power line to be live. After the initial shock, the utility worker takes off running and makes his way to safety. According to Sergeant Hemhauser, the flames were so hot that they burned holes in the asphalt on the street. After the incident was reported, Jersey Central Power and Light immediately launched an investigation to determine why the power line was even live in the first place if a utility worker had been given the green light to fix it. Although the exact cause of the incident was never publicly revealed, no further incidents have been reported in the area. This dashcam footage was captured on March 1st, 2013 in Bashkira, a republic of Russia that sits between Volga and the Ural Mountains in Eastern Europe. In the video, a tornado can be seen quickly approaching the vehicle and the adjacent house. What follows is a shocking display of the sheer force of nature as the 130-mile-per-hour winds wreak havoc on the house and its surroundings. At first, only the tree and some tarp that was flying on the ground can be seen moving in the wind. But just a few seconds later, the roof is ripped off the house, the vehicle is thrust forward, and debris starts flying everywhere as the tornado rages on. When the video was originally uploaded to Reddit in 2014, the user who posted it didn't include any context surrounding the incident. We can only hope that there was no one in the house when the tornado struck, but we'll likely never know if that was the case. On August 15, 1989, a family of 3 was driving along Interstate 205 near Stockton, California when their car began to overheat. Forced to pull over, the father popped the hood to check the damage. It didn't take long to realize they needed professional help. Leaving the mother behind to stay with the car, the father and his young son set out on foot to find a payphone. As they walked, the boy noticed something unusual, a camouflage jacket discarded by the side of the road. This piqued his curiosity and he went over to take a closer look, only to find an unmarked VHS tape sticking out from one of its pockets. The boy picked up the tape and later brought it back to his home. By this point, his parents were also curious about what they'd find on this seemingly abandoned tape. So they inserted it in their home VHS player and pressed play. However, the contents of the tape were far darker than what they could have imagined. Now, the original unedited video has never been made available online. But there are different pieces from various sources that I've done my best to put together. It opened with the camera pointed at a massive fire at night, with what I can only assume is the cameraman saying some ominous stuff.
Look at the fire. This is my domain. My hell.
A bit into the video, the camera refocused and the source of the fire became clear. It was a single-story home that looked like it was still under construction before it caught fire.
I call it home. My hell. The whole sky is black with smoke. A fire that I will destroy and burn your soul up. Ancient spirit of evil.
Meanwhile, the cameraman kept talking, and the longer he spoke, the more unsettling it became. Later in the video, you could also hear fire trucks arriving at the scene and the cameraman commenting on it before ending the video with a direct threat to the viewer.
Look at it. The fire department's trying to put it out. What a laugh. I gotta go now. But remember me. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Your house is next.
The tape then abruptly cut to the scene from the 1984 horror film A Nightmare on Elm Street. It wasn't clear if the fire video was taped on top of the movie or if this was a deliberate edit. However, one thing was clear: the frightening video was filmed by the person who set the house on fire. The family handed over the tape to the police and told them exactly where and how they found it. Detectives went back to the location, and sure enough, the family's story checked out. The jacket was still there. But the detectives also found many other items near the jacket, including a wooden pestle, a glove, a cassette of metal music, and a ceramic skull. They also watched the video itself, and it was unlike anything they had seen before.
I've never run across anything as eerie as this tape. Frightened me, as a matter of fact. I thought about it that night when I went to bed.
Unfortunately, the poor filming conditions and shaky nature of the footage prevented them from extracting any meaningful clues about the location of this fire. Despite a frame-by-frame analysis, investigators were unable to match the tape with any reported fires in the state of California. For all they knew, the fire could have happened anywhere in the US. As for the motive behind this action, the constant talk of hell and evil led the investigators to believe that it had something to do with Satanism. And while this might sound a bit far-fetched today, you have to remember that back in the 1980s, major acts of evil from devil worshippers was a real concern for many people. But without any leads, this was nothing more than a theory. So, after exhausting all other options, investigators decided to enlist the help of the media and featured the story on the popular TV show Unsolved Mysteries in September of 1990. And this worked better than the cops could have ever imagined. Within 2 hours of the episode airing, investigators received over 1,000 calls from viewers with potential leads. Among these 1,000 plus callers was a man named Ed Tarantino who got shaken to his core after seeing the found footage on TV, because he lived next to the burning house in Redwood City, California, some 80 miles west to where the tape was originally found. More importantly, the show also led the investigators to the owner of the under-construction home that was burning in the video, Bill Otherlie, who described the incident as the act of a crazy person.
And it turned up it's my house that's on the videotape. And then you heard the voice of this individual. And you go, this guy ain't playing with a full deck.
This was an extremely expensive loss for Bill. The fire had completely destroyed his under-construction home, costing him $900,000, which is about $2.5 million in today's money. Meanwhile, the Redwood City Fire Department also confirmed the incident. As it turns out, the fire department had captured their own footage of the incident for use in future training, and parts of this fire department footage matched the mysterious tape. Cross-referencing the two videos also revealed that the arsonist was just about 50 feet away from the fireman when he recorded his video.
The fire department's trying to put it out. What a laugh.
Now, all that remained was to capture the culprit. But that wasn't going to be easy. According to the owner of the fire department reports, the arson attack happened in August of 1988, which is an entire year before the tape was found on the side of the road. The only lead the investigators had on the suspect was the name he mentioned in the video, Omar.
Look at it, Omar. This is what I've been doing on your week's vacation. I said I'll do it. I said I'll do it.
It wasn't much, and for a while it seemed like a dead end. That is, until the police received a new tip from Doris Lance, another person who saw the Unsolved Mysteries episode on TV. She suspected that the Omar mentioned in the video was referring to a 17-year-old boy who lived in the area. And when the police brought him in for questioning, he cracked almost immediately and told them everything. Omar claimed that he was silently standing off camera when the video was filmed, and that it was his 19-year-old friend who started the fire and recorded the video. The investigators were finally getting close to the perpetrator, but they needed more evidence before making their move, so they started tailing the alleged arsonist, observing him from a distance. However, he likely caught wind of the police because soon after the monitoring started, his garage burned to the ground. At that point, the police had no choice but to act. On September 27, 1990, they confronted the 19-year-old directly. And just like Omar, he folded without much of a fight and confessed to everything. One thing I should point out is that the authorities never publicly revealed the identities of the two boys, so I'll call the arsonist John for the sake of convenience. After going through John's home, investigators also found tons of incriminating evidence that linked them to not only the Redwood City fire, but similar arson attacks on 11 other structures and 15 grass fires. This evidence included things like a picture of graffiti on a wall stating, "Please no more houses," and a news clipping pinned to the wall about recent arsons which the two boys likely caused. But that wasn't all. In the burned down garage, they discovered bloodied knives and mutilated animal parts. They also found tapes containing disturbing footage of John dressing up as a satanic vampire and threatening a humanoid sculpture with a knife.
How you doing, Father? I hope you're doing real good.
But not all of the footage was so theatrical. One of the most notable clips showed the two boys goofing around in an open field.
And now, to finish the job.
That field, as it turned out, was being transformed into a housing development. It's likely the boys were furious about the changes and decided to take matters into their own hands by torching under construction homes to stop the developments. This would also explain the eerie graffiti I mentioned earlier. However, since both of them were minors when they started those fires, they were tried as juveniles despite the severity of their crimes. Omar was sent to juvenile detention, while John was deemed mentally unwell and was admitted to a mental institute. What happened to the two after that, we don't know. I've seen some claims that John was released from the mental institute and died in a car accident in 2017. And while there's no direct evidence to back this claim, I did find a news report of a hit and run in Redwood City from January of 2017. The victim of this incident was 45 years old, which aligns perfectly with the age John would have been in 2017. But if this is completely unrelated and John is still alive, I seriously doubt he'd reveal himself now just to satisfy the curiosity of randoms on the internet. As for the tape itself, it's still unclear how it found its way on the side of the interstate. On August 23, 1987, a pair of backpackers were hiking south of the Junco Lake trailhead in the mountains near the tiny town of Tabernash, Colorado. However, what might have seemed like an ordinary hike quickly turned into an unforgettable experience that would stay with them for the rest of their lives. The two came across the wreckage of a crashed plane with parts scattered everywhere. They informed the authorities about the find, prompting a complete search of the area for evidence of what happened to this plane and when. While Dale Wood, a Colorado deputy sheriff, was investigating the area, his attention was drawn to a VHS tape hanging from a tree. Most of the tape's insides had come out and were tangled in the branches, but he recovered everything he could and brought it back for restoration to a somewhat playable condition, and the footage was disturbing to say the least. The VHS contained the last moments of two men who went missing 3 years ago, the 36-year-old James Jeb Cottle and his similarly aged passenger Ronald Hugh Wilmond. On August 10, 1984, the two flew from the Granby Airport with the Jeffco Airport as their destination on a small Cessna L-19E Bird Dog airplane. However, they never arrived at this destination. Multiple search parties were deployed to their approximate route, but none were able to find any evidence of what happened to James and Ronald. What made their disappearance even more mysterious was the fact that the plane had an emergency locator transmitter, a device that would have broadcast its location in the case of a crash. However, the authorities never received the signal from this device, and their case remained cold for almost 3 years. That is until the pair of backpackers found the wreckage, which in turn led to the discovery of the VHS tape. The footage starts off quite normal, with the pilot commenting on things he sees from the cockpit.
Oh, look at that down there, Ronnie, on the left. Nice little lake and a cabin. Those dead trees down there. There are a whole bunch of them back up in here, those beetles. Very pretty little lake.
However, around 5 minutes into the footage, things start to go wrong as the ground starts coming closer and closer. Experts analyzed this footage to find out what went wrong, and apparently the pilot failed to account for density altitude before taking off. For those that aren't familiar with aviation lingo, think of density altitude as the thickness of the air. When it's hot, humid, or a higher altitude, the air becomes thinner, making it harder for planes to fly well. Pilots use density altitude to know how their plane will perform, like how much runway they need or how much weight they can carry. On the day of the crash, the density altitude around Tabernash was 13,000 feet. In other words, the air was as thin as it would be at an altitude of 13,000 feet. James failed to account for this massive difference. When his plane came across rapidly rising mountains around 10,200 feet above sea level, he wasn't able to lift the plane in time to fly over them safely. The footage showed how he tried to quickly turn back, but stalled the plane's engine in the process, resulting in it turning over and crashing into the trees. The footage also explained why the emergency locator transmitter didn't work. The plane flipped upside down just before the crash, which damaged the transmitter, preventing it from signaling for help. It was an unfortunate incident all around. The only potentially good thing that came out of this is that James Cottle's family authorized this found footage to be used in flight instructor training. So maybe somebody's life was spared because they saw this footage and remembered to adjust for density altitude before taking off. On the 31st of May 2013, the loud noise of a tornado siren was echoing through the streets of El Reno, Oklahoma. Meteorologists were predicting a potential multiple vortex tornado that might touch down in the area. And while this was bad news for the residents of El Reno, the rarity of such an event also attracted a lot of storm chasers from around the United States. This also included a 3-man crew of storm chasing experts, the 55-year-old Tim Samaras, his 24-year-old son Paul Samaras, and their partner 45-year-old Carl Young. The three had extensive experience in safely chasing twisters and gathering valuable data from them. They were also a part of the Discovery Channel's Storm Chasers and were heavily involved in the show from seasons 3 to 5. In May of 2013, the trio had actually arrived in the stormy area many days earlier to thoroughly analyze the storm before giving chase.
Oh, I'd say this is the one. Oh yeah. This is going to be the storm of the day right here. This is going to do it, I think.
Unfortunately, the May 31st twister wasn't something they could have predicted, even with their vast knowledge and experience. It started around 6 p.m. when an EF3 tornado touched down in El Reno, marking the beginning of the chase. However, it wasn't long before the tornado started becoming more volatile.
See, the rain is behind us. Oh my God.
What was supposed to be a category EF3 quickly turned into an EF5, which is the most intense a tornado can get. But even the title of EF5 cannot fully demonstrate the terrifying scale of this particular twister. By the time it stopped growing, the El Reno tornado had a radius of 2.6 miles, the largest in recorded history. It also had a wind speed of 313 miles per hour, or over 500 kilometers per hour. Carl and the Samaras brothers were attempting to ride parallel to the tornado to observe from a safe distance. Unfortunately, the twister made an unexpected turn and started coming towards their car. They tried everything in their power to escape safely, but sadly it was too late. The tornado flung the car into the air, sending it barreling across the El Reno region. After the storm had passed, search parties found their car, which was reduced to 60% of its original size. And while Tim's body was found strapped inside the vehicle, Paul and Carl's bodies were found half a mile east and west of the car. All three had tragically passed away in the incident. After some more searching, authorities also found a camera which was miraculously still recording. And after reviewing the footage, it became clear that it had recorded Tim, Paul, and Carl's final moments. Now, as far as I could tell, the raw footage from this camera has not been released to the public, and no one has leaked it anywhere on the internet. But a select few people have seen the footage, including the crew's close friend Gabe Garfield. According to him, he could hear Carl talking about how eerily calm the air around them had become in the moments before their end. To which Tim replied, "Actually, we're in a bad spot," before uttering his final words, "We're going to die." To this day, the story of Tim, Paul, and Carl serves as a stark warning to aspiring storm chasers, highlighting the immense danger of their pursuit. Even a team of industry-leading veterans couldn't withstand the unpredictable fury of a twister. On the 1st of June 2024, a YouTube channel by the name of Found Memories uploaded a video titled Tape 92 Found Footage, Jason Sleeping. The video is timestamped for 9:27 p.m. on April 22, 2007, and opens with the cameraman placing the camera in a way that faces a sleeping child. Aside from the sleeping child turning a few times, nothing happens for the rest of this nearly 30-minute video. There's not even any unusual sound in the background or anything. Now, despite the footage being completely uneventful, something about this whole thing is inherently unsettling. The lack of context and the uncomfortable silence can easily turn this into nightmare fuel if you have an active enough imagination. According to the description of the video, the original tape was simply labeled as Jason Sleeping. The uploader also gave an explanation for where they found the footage, stating, "Found in a box full of abandoned camcorder videos, uploading to archive the footage. Perhaps one day someone connected to the video will see it and appreciate it." And while this provides some much needed context, it still leaves the biggest question unanswered. Why would anyone record 30 minutes of a child sleeping? So I decided to dig a bit further. The first thing that came to mind is that this is just another one of those staged, artsy, analog horror type videos. However, after going through the channel that posted this video, I don't think that's the case. The channel, Found Memories, was created fairly recently in April of 2024. The About section of the channel reads, "Uploading media I've found to archive, and maybe one day the original owners will find it and appreciate it. I've acquired thousands of videotapes and media over the years from various places, pawn shops, private sellers, auctions, and thrift stores to name a few. I recently had the idea to start this channel as a way to start archiving them and actually do something with them. Maybe one day someone connected to them will find them." And this seems to be the truth. At the time of writing, this channel has uploaded over 180 different videos, and almost all of them are extremely unique in some way. From children opening their Christmas presents in 1991 to a whole wedding. However, almost none of these random videos are creepy or scary, with the sole exception of Jason sleeping. I highly doubt the owner of this channel filmed or acquired hundreds of random tapes just to sneak in one obscure horror video. So they're likely telling the truth about finding the tape, but if it's not an artsy horror flick, what is it? Now, while it might be easy to drum up some creepy stalker story, the real explanation might be a lot simpler. More specifically, this was likely recorded by a parent who wanted to observe the sleeping patterns of their child, maybe to see if they sleepwalk or talk during their sleep. Many comments under the video also agree with this explanation, with one commenter even providing a personal anecdote to validate this theory, stating, "I'm sure they recorded to catch him sleepwalking or talking. When I was 9, I woke up in my mom's closet. My mom about had a heart attack when she opened the door and asked me why I was there. I said, I don't know. She thought I was lying, so one night she videotaped me. But I didn't do it. It was a one-time thing for me. Also could be paranormal reasons. Kid been waking up with scratches, bites, could be anything. 9 times out of 10, there's really no creepy reason parents record kids. Not saying it doesn't happen now, but just way less likely. But at the end of the day, we really don't know and can't know the motives of this unnerving found footage. Maybe the channel owner's wish will come true one day and Jason, or the person who recorded this footage, will find this video and reveal the truth in the comments. In August of 2021, YouTuber Rich Aloha was filming one of his signature diving videos in a pool under a waterfall in Foster Falls State Park, Tennessee. He was excited to jump in the water in hopes of finding some treasure like a drone or an iPhone. But what he uncovered instead was a lot more disturbing. After looking around on the lake floor for some time, he saw something unusual sticking out of the ground, which turned out to be a GoPro camera. The GoPro had clearly been in there for a while, plus the outer shell had massive cracks, which allowed water to get in and fry every electronic component. But before Rich threw the broken GoPro away, he decided to remove its SD card and plug it in, just in case it somehow survived the months underwater. And to his surprise, it was actually fully functional and had the footage of the adventures of a young man. This turned out to be 22-year-old Richard Ragland, who tragically lost his life 2 years earlier, drowning while swimming beneath that very waterfall. In fact, the footage Rich uncovered had Richard's final moments in water. We can actually see him getting visibly exhausted and struggling to stay afloat near the end. The camera likely recorded his final breaths as well. However, from my research, the complete footage isn't available anywhere online, and even if it was, it wouldn't be something I could show here on YouTube. Rich likely never released the complete recording out of respect for Richard and his family, which I fully understand. And while the death of such an upbeat young man is sad, at least his family got to see his last happy moments on this planet thanks to Rich finding the footage. On the 30th of September 2019 at 4:06 p.m., the police in Anchorage, Alaska received a call from a woman claiming to have found evidence of a horrific crime. The woman who called the police was 47-year-old Valerie Kassler. She claimed that she was walking around Fairbanks Street when she found an SD card lying on the ground. She picked it up and saw the words "Homicide at Midtown Marriott" written on it and thought that it might be the title of some obscure horror movie. However, nothing could have prepared her for the horrifying content that came up when she plugged in the card to view its contents. According to the reports, the card had 39 images and 12 videos, all from the same crime scene of horrible things being done to a woman in a hotel room. The person behind the gruesome footage stayed off camera, but his unmistakable voice and distinct accent were clear in the videos. And while these videos were never released to the public, the person recording them would have sounded something like this.
There through those trees you'll see the doctor's house. He's like a heart surgeon or a brain surgeon or something. There's the other neighbors. And there's the tree in front of the house. And there's the other neighbors.
This is the voice of Brian Stephen Smith, who quickly became the #1 suspect in the case. Apparently, he had called the Anchorage Police Department a few days before the SD card was found and complained about someone stealing his stuff. So when the cops were reviewing the footage, someone from the station recognized his voice. The person who found the SD card also recognized the carpet pattern of the hotel in the pictures. It was the Town Place Suites by Marriott, which was located just a 5-minute walk from where the card was found. Cops went to this hotel, and sure enough, Brian was checked into the hotel on the day the horrific pictures and videos were taken. Further investigation into Brian revealed that he was an immigrant from South Africa and had received US citizenship less than a year earlier. He was also working as the manager of a different Marriott hotel in Anchorage. The police also found the discarded remains of his victim during this time. Unfortunately, he had gone on vacation with his wife the day the SD card was found. However, he was arrested seconds after landing at the airport in Alaska and charged with over 13 felonies for his unspeakable crimes. Police also revealed the identity of his victim, the 30-year-old Alaskan native named Kathleen Jo Henry. Brian pled not guilty, but the evidence against him was too substantial for him to walk free. However, just as he was about to face justice, Valerie Kastler gave a testimony that could have complicated this case even further. If you remember, she originally claimed to have found the SD card lying on the road. In reality, she was hired by Brian as an escort. On her way out, she stole his phone. When she went through his phone, likely to clear it, she came across evidence of his monstrous deeds. But she did not want to get involved in such a massive case, so she copied the files to an SD card and came up with the entire found footage storyline. Fortunately, the case against Brian was already strong enough to withstand this revelation, and he was finally sentenced to 226 years in prison in July of this year. And while this would not undo the pain and suffering Kathleen went through, at least now her family can rest easy knowing that the monster who did this to her is rotting in prison. In April of 2020, a kid named Noah decided to go truck camping in the forests of Sun River, Oregon. He was driving down the road when he thought he found a good spot and drove deep into the forest with his truck. His first night there, he was woken up to sounds outside. As he continued listening, he realized they were footprints, and from the pattern assumed it was a person. He grabbed his nearby GoPro and started filming.
I'm currently sleeping in the back of my truck right now. I don't even know what time it is, and there's someone walking around my truck right now. If you can hear that, it's pretty loud. He's been walking around for like 20 minutes already. I don't really know what to do. I'm a little freaked out right now, and it's like pitch black outside, and like this doesn't make any sense because I parked somewhere where you couldn't see. No one was on that road. Wait, he's touching my truck. How am I supposed to get him away? He's literally knocking. He's literally knocking on my truck. The canopy, the back door's locked. I've never been so scared before ever. I don't think he knows that there's anyone in here. I'm so scared right now. He's literally peeking through the door right now.
Whoever was out there knocks on the truck and tries the door handles, all while Noah sits inside, forced to just listen to it happen. Fortunately, he had his doors locked, so no one could get inside. After multiple minutes, footsteps are finally heard leaving. When it got light outside, Noah drove back to the road and back home. Later that morning, he found handprints all over his truck, specifically on his back window from someone trying to see inside, and a lot on his door handles from someone trying to get inside.
Handprints there, a lot of scratches, stuff like that. Dragging his finger on my side of my truck. Well, looks like to be trying to get inside my truck. That's really all I could tell from when he was walking around. More handprints trying to get in my truck. At least the back canopy was locked, but yeah, that was the result. So
for someone to even have been out there in the first place at that time of night is extremely odd. And it couldn't have been a police officer or anything because no one identified themselves. The person didn't even have a light, and this was in the middle of a pitch-black forest. No one ever posted an update on the situation, suggesting that he never found out who was outside his truck that night. Kyle Burgess was on an early morning jog on a trail in Provo, Utah, when he thought he saw a baby bobcat on the trail up ahead of him. He immediately pulled out his phone and started recording. But it wasn't a bobcat, rather it was a baby cougar. The video then shows the mother cougar coming into view.
You! Oh, oh, no! Get the away! Get the away! Go! 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 No! No! Go away! Go away! Please go away! Oh! Holy! Nice and slow. Come on! Ah! No!
Kyle is left in a standoff with the cougar as he slowly backs away, trying to scare it off with loud noises. But the cougar continues to follow him, and at times even lunges at him. At one point, Kyle turns his head away from the animal so as not to trip as he's backing up. This prompts the cougar to try and attack, getting within only feet of him.
Go away! No! You taste, dude! I'm trying to attack and your eyes are looking away from you. Dude! No, go away! Go away! No! No! Yeah, get the away from me. Face.
The encounter lasts for an entire 6 minutes. It ends when Kyle throws a large rock, scaring the animal into running away. Cougar encounters with hikers are extremely dangerous and can often result in a much worse outcome. Had Kyle tried to run or failed to look and sound intimidating, the animal's instincts to chase and commit to an attack would have kicked in. In February of 2013, a few residents of a neighborhood in northern Oregon filed reports of strange noises coming from the forest. The noises were described as what sounded like eerie laughter. It was loud and echoed throughout the nearby area. One of the residents that heard the sounds went outside to where they seemed to be coming from and started recording. Some think the noises are being made by foxes or coyotes, but others don't think so, saying coyotes, for example, have a much more canine-like shriek and aren't nearly as loud. It's still unclear what exactly was making the noise that night. Lisa is a girl who owns a YouTube channel where she documents her life living in a van. She travels across North America recording her experience as she goes. The videos almost always follow more of a vlog style, showing the different forests or places she stays at overnight, or the journeys to get there. However, in February of 2022, something different was uploaded. Lisa was sleeping in her van when she woke up to the sound of knocking right next to her ear. It was 4:30 in the morning and someone was outside. She sat there frozen, not knowing what to do. The knock then came again, and this time she uttered out a confused hello. There was no response. It would be completely silent for the next 15 minutes. Eventually she heard footsteps coming back, and this time grabbed her camera to record.
Somebody's back here again. I hear footprints. Hello? How can I help you? It's 4:30 in the morning. I don't feel safe. Who are you?
There was no response. She quietly got up and went to the front of her van to look outside. In the distance, there were headlights. The car backs away, and so she turns the camera to herself and begins explaining what just happened. A few minutes into this, and she hears footsteps again.
I hear footprints. Hear that? Yeah, somebody was just here again 3 times now. The 3rd time I looked out, they were walking on foot. I seen them walking and they hid behind the big tree there. And then they went to a car, the same car that was here earlier. Well, that was back, and then it backed away and left again. 3 times in one night. This time, they didn't knock though. They were just walking around. I could hear them walking around the van.
When it got light outside later that morning, she got out of her van and found footprints all around it.
So I come out this morning and you can see footprints. Look at this one. This is mine. I'll show you. There's mine. See? They were actually... There's some more. Look at that. They came here. They were standing here, as you can see.
A lot of viewers believe the man was simply trying to steal valuables from the van, but why then come back 2 more times after you heard someone talking from inside? It's likely the man had worse intentions. This video was taken by a mountain biker in Vancouver, Canada. He had set up his phone camera to get a shot of him riding down a part of the mountain. Just as he comes down and passes the camera, he suddenly hits the brakes and starts calling out. He then comes back into frame, walking back up the mountain with his bike. As he does so, he keeps looking back behind him. Blocking his path was a bear, who was now following him.
Hey, hey! 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 Hey!
The kid uses his bike to make himself look bigger. He hits it on the ground a few times, causing the bear to retreat back to the camera where it knocks it over. The bear then stands over the camera for a while longer. Finally, it retreats completely, allowing the kid to retrieve his phone and get back to safety. On September 6, 2016, a Reddit post was made linking to a video that claimed to feature a weird noise from the woods. Included was text that read, "I put the kids to bed tonight and heard this loud, really bizarre sound coming from the woods outside my house. It lasted about 15 to 20 minutes. We have a handful of neighbors nearby, but this was too loud to be coming from them. It seemed to be coming from the direction of a nearby AM radio tower, but can those towers make noises like this? I googled around but couldn't find anything similar." This is the video. Commenters immediately started speculating what the sound could have been. One of them suggested it could have been the sound of high winds passing through a nearby cell tower, the metal on metal being what created the eerie tone. But the poster replied saying there was almost no wind that night, and even on days when it was windy, he never heard this sound. Another said the sound was extremely consistent with what it sounds like to drill into a strut or support that's made of high carbon steel, but said that it would be weird to be doing this that late into the night. To this day, it's still unknown what the sound in the video actually is. On the night of January 19, 2019, an Uber driver named Albert Castro picked up a passenger from a bar in Citrus Heights, California. This passenger was 32-year-old Chu Vang. He'd been partying at this bar for many hours and was completely intoxicated. However, picking up inebriated passengers from bars was part of Albert's daily routine, so he didn't think much of it. What he didn't know at that time was that picking up Chu would soon put his life in grave danger. Fortunately, he captured the whole incident on his dashcam. Things started off fairly normal, with Chu sitting in the front seat and trying to strike up a conversation with Albert while in his drunken state. But then, out of nowhere, he started freaking out and saying things like, "You're gonna crash." Albert tried to calm things down and reassured him that he was not gonna crash. What Albert didn't realize, however, was that Chu wasn't fearing for his own safety. Instead, he was making a threat. Because just a few seconds later, he did this.
No, dude!
He grabbed the steering wheel and turned it in his direction, sending the car swerving across two different lanes while going 65 miles per hour down the Business 80 highway. It was a miracle they managed to avoid hitting any other cars. Thankfully, Albert was able to react quickly and remove his hands from the steering wheel before he put them in any more danger. But just when he thought the situation was under control, Chu made another attempt, this time lunging at the steering wheel with his whole body.
Where we at? Listen, Mac Road, man. We're going toward Mac Road. Yeah, where we at? You gotta let go of my hand, bro. Thanks, so. Where we at? We're heading downtown. We're going to South Sac. Man. We're gonna go. You gotta let go, man. No, we're gonna go crazy.
It took everything Albert had in him to keep Chu from causing a potentially fatal crash. And while Chu passed out and stopped fighting for a few seconds, it wasn't long before he was trying to reach for the steering wheel again.
I love you, brother. I love you, brother. We're not gonna die, man, but you gotta let go. No, I love you, brother. I love you, brother. You gotta let go, man. I love you, brother.
Fortunately, by this point they were already stopped, albeit in the middle of the road. But what made this situation even more disturbing was Chu's complete lack of awareness and concern for what he just did. He's even heard saying the words, "We're going to die," like it's nothing. After catching his breath for a short while, Albert finally managed to call the police and explain his situation.
Ma'am, I'm in the middle of the freeway. I have a drunk Uber passenger grabbing my steering wheel. No. We're just south of 99 and 50.
Chu was arrested and later charged with DUI for trying to take control of a moving vehicle while under the influence. Now, I wasn't able to find any reports on the conviction he received, as it's a pretty niche case without much of any news coverage. But given the video evidence clearly showing him committing the crime, there's a good chance he was hit with a felony and will never be allowed to drive again. Still, it's disturbing to think about what could have happened if Albert didn't have the reaction time to stop Chu before he managed to crash the car. On February 10, 2022, 38-year-old Uber driver Christina Spikuza picked up a man wearing a ski mask from the small town of Pitcairn, Pennsylvania.
Hi, Fortunea. How are you today?
The weather was quite cold, so she didn't find the mask suspicious. But the complete disregard for her questions, or at the very most, a murmured response, was unusual. Though she continued as usual and began driving to the requested location, not knowing that things would turn bad very quickly. As they were about to reach the destination, the passenger made an odd move and shifted into the middle back seat. To Christina, it seemed like he was just trying to get a better view of the surroundings so he could point off the drop-off location. And sure enough, that's exactly what he did.
Where your red is? Right here, up there.
He told her to stop in a secluded wooded area just before Monroeville, Pennsylvania. But just as she tried to pull over, he did something Christina could have never expected.
I'm sorry?
Keep driving.
You've got to be joking.
Keep driving.
What are you doing?
This is a gun. Keep driving.
No, it's not. Stop.
I can't show the visuals on YouTube, but the back passenger presses a gun to her head, grabbing her ponytail with his other hand, and instructs her to keep driving. Christina tried to stay calm and reason with the passenger. Unfortunately, he had no intention of showing any mercy.
Come on, man. I got a family. What are you doing?
I got a family too. Now drive.
What are you doing?
Drive.
Please stop.
Drive the car, miss.
Why
Just
are you
drive.
doing
Don't
this?
Don't make this so noticeable. Just drive.
Why are you doing this?
Just drive the car.
A few seconds later, he grabbed her phone so she couldn't call for help. He also noticed and disabled the dashcam that had captured everything to this point. Tragically, this also marked the last time Christina was seen alive. Her family reported her as missing when she failed to return home that night, prompting an immediate search and rescue effort to locate her. And after 2 days of searching, Christina's body was discovered face down in the woods near Monroeville with a bullet wound to the back of her head. After further investigation, authorities also found her car, which was somehow back in Pitcairn. Fortunately, this discovery allowed investigators to recover the dashcam footage, as well as dust from the passenger's fingerprints. Combined with the information from Uber about who booked the ride, these clues led investigators to identify and arrest the suspect 5 days later on February 17th. This turned out to be a 25-year-old man named Calvin Crew. Calvin denied the allegations and refused to talk about his motives. But the records from Christina's phone showed that he tried to access her banking apps multiple times after he'd already shot her in the head. Put simply, this was a robbery gone horribly wrong. He stood in front of a jury in February 2025 and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for this cold-hearted crime. On the 17th of March 2014, 52-year-old John Williams picked up an Uber passenger at around midnight from a sketchy area in Chicago. However, what should have been an ordinary ride like any other turned into something that'll likely stick with him for the rest of his life. It began almost the moment the passenger got into the car, as she made a bizarre statement that left John confused. But before he had the chance to fully process what was going on, things escalated.
Diamond.
Yeah. Go, go, go. You finna shoot up the car.
Shoot up the car?
Yeah, go.
What the f? What is that? What the f is that? What the f was that?
He just shot at the car.
For what?
Let me call the police.
Man, f this.
Let me call the police, Cuddy.
As soon as John started driving, someone actually opened fire and shot at the car. John stepped on the gas and didn't ease up, running a stop sign and hitting multiple speed bumps. The shooter turned out to be the ex-boyfriend of the girl John had picked up. He was even briefly caught on the dash cam, seen running after John's car as it drove away. Fortunately, the shots missed the vehicle and both John and the passenger were completely unharmed, at least physically. According to an interview he did later, this incident left John completely traumatized, as he'd never experienced anything this terrifying in his over 12,000 Uber rides. After the footage was featured in the news and it started gaining more attention, people came together and raised nearly $800 to help John pay for psychological counseling. On the night of September 15, 2018, an Uber driver was completing a ride in Long Island, New York, when, out of nowhere, he was intercepted by another car driving dangerously close and trying to cut him off.
So I'm going to the right?
No, go straight this way. Go through it straight.
Straight.
Yeah.
Okay. Now what do I do?
Go to the top of the hill and you'll see a light. We'll make a right.
Okay.
Whoa. What's going on there? Doing? Oh my goodness. That was weird.
That was a little weird.
The other driver then pulled ahead of the Uber and blocked the road with his car. He then jumped out, approached the Uber, and started banging on the car's window.
What's that?
You blew the right Just go, just go, go, just go, just go, go around him. Go around him. Oh my God, this is crazy.
This was an extremely dangerous situation. The other driver was angry and could have potentially had a weapon on him as well. One wrong move and all 3 people in the Uber could have easily lost their lives to what looked like either road rage or an attempted robbery. Fortunately, the Uber driver made the right decision and kept his car locked. But when he tried to leave without getting into a fight, the other driver got back into his car and started chasing them.
911, tell them we're being chased.
Hi, I'm in an Uber car and we're being chased by another car who was threatening the driver. And we're
on Vernon Valley.
And he's pursuing us right now.
He's pursuing us right now.
He's chasing us in a car.
In a white car.
They were also approaching a red light, which made them panic even more, fearing that stopping would give the other driver a chance to get out and threaten them again.
Coming up to a light. Now we're coming up to a light. I'm scared because
we're gonna have to go through it.
We're gonna have to go through it
because this guy is.
He jumped out of the car.
We're in a Tesla.
But then something incredibly lucky happened that none of them saw coming. Not only did the light turn green as soon as they approached it, they also found a cop car that was already patrolling the area.
No, we had the passenger. There's a gentleman who stopped us and tried to have a fight with me, and he started pursuing us.
He jumped out of the car.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That guy.
That's him. That's him.
That's him.
Don't go anywhere.
That's him.
Stay here.
The cop managed to pull him over, allowing the Uber to drive away safely. And according to the video's description on YouTube, the driver was later arrested for driving while intoxicated. It's still unclear what the driver's intentions were or what would have happened if the police car hadn't been there when it was. On the 22nd of March 2020, an Uber driver picked up his passenger in Washington, D.C. and was looking for the right time to merge into traffic, when a random man suddenly opened the front passenger door and got into the car.
How's your day been?
Okay. Can I help you?
Where that money at?
You need to get out.
What? Man, what the f*** Stop paying me. Where that money at?
I don't have any money.
Stop paying me. Where's that? Right now. Give
I
it to
don't
me.
have
right
cash.
Now.
It's a digital world, bro.
Man, give me your wallet.
I don't have it.
Give me your wallet. Right now. Give it to me.
He began threatening the driver with a gun, asking for his wallet. Most people in this situation would likely panic and hand over whatever the robber demands, which is the right thing to do in most cases. After all it takes is one wrong move for someone to lose their life while being threatened with a gun. However, not only did the Uber driver that turned out to be ex-military keep his calm, he also did something that no one else should. He called the robber's bluff.
Right now. Give it to me. Bro, stop.
You gonna shoot me?
Give me that wallet.
Get the f*** out of here. You don't want to get shot. Come on, man.
Give me that wallet, bro.
No.
Bro, stop playing me before I hit you right here. Give me that wallet, bro.
I got on my camera too.
Oh, look at you. Awesome. Not gonna lie, I'm super grateful for you right now.
Well, ex-military. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane.
Before things could escalate any further, he stepped on the gas, forcing the robber to quickly step out. His actions may have been a bit reckless, but in the end they turned out to be the right call, as they saved both him and his passenger from losing everything. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be any follow-up information available on this case. Hopefully the robber was identified and taken into custody before he attempted to harm any more people. Ivan Lester McGuire was a 35-year-old skydiving expert who lived in the small town of Franklinton, North Carolina. He worked as a skydiving cameraman at the now-defunct Franklin County Sports Parachute Center, where his job was to capture photos and videos of clients who wanted their skydive jumps recorded. He'd been doing this every day for years, and April 2nd, 1988 was no different. Unfortunately, what began as just another routine workday would end in a sudden, irreversible tragedy. The day began smoothly, with Ivan successfully completing 2 dives by late afternoon. But it was an unusually busy Saturday, and before the sun could set, he was called in for a 3rd jump. He was already exhausted by this point, but didn't want fatigue to get in the way of his job, so he agreed to the dive. The plane took off from the runway located right next to the sports center, and within just 15 minutes it was soaring 10,500 feet in the air. After reaching this desired altitude, Ivan jumped first, making sure to keep his helmet-mounted camera pointed towards the client and their accompanying skydiving instructor. What you're looking at right now is a part of the footage that he captured. A few seconds after the jump, the other instructor opened his parachute, which was Ivan's cue to open his own. But when he reached for his ripcord, it wasn't there. Panic set in as he frantically disregarded getting a good shot and searched his body for the ripcord, hoping it was just stuck somewhere. And that's when he made the horrifying discovery. He wasn't wearing a parachute at all. And since the other instructor had already opened his parachute, he couldn't help Ivan in any way either. After realizing his situation, the only words that came out of Ivan's mouth were, "Oh my God, no." The footage then became blurry as Ivan sped up to 150 miles per hour, or over 240 kilometers per hour. He crash-landed in a wooded area near the runway and likely passed away the instant he hit the ground. When rescue workers found his body, his camera equipment and the VHS tape he was recording on were broken into multiple pieces. Fortunately, investigators were able to splice together enough working sections to get a good picture of what happened before he jumped. They were able to rule out both foul play and the possibility that Ivan had intentionally chosen not to wear a parachute. But if that's the case, how could a seasoned expert with over 800 successful skydives under his belt simply forget to put on his parachute? Unfortunately, none of the evidence the investigators were able to gather answered this question. But given his circumstances, a few popular theories have emerged that offer possible explanations for what might have gone wrong. The first of which is that this incident was the result of nothing more than ill-fated complacency. As I mentioned earlier, Ivan had already completed 2 jumps that day and was exhausted before getting on the plane for the 3rd time. Maybe he assumed he was completely geared up, when in reality he was missing the most crucial piece of equipment. However, if he wasn't wearing anything on his shoulders, someone around him would have almost certainly noticed before the jump. Which brings us to the second and more likely possibility. The incident happened because of his camera equipment. You see, unlike today where a tiny action cam is all it takes to film a skydive, back in the 1980s, recording that footage required bulky camera gear that had to be worn in a backpack. There's a chance Ivan and the others around him mistook this camera bag for the parachute and didn't realize the truth until it was too late. That said, while Ivan wasn't fortunate enough to survive, the footage of his accident stands as a sobering reminder for skydivers to always double, even triple check their gear. On the 15th of January 2023, Yeti Airlines Flight 691 took off from Kathmandu's Tribhuvan International Airport at around 10:30 a.m. It was a domestic flight headed for the Pokhara International Airport, located roughly 124 miles or 200 kilometers west of the takeoff location. Things started off just as everyone hoped, with the plane taking off, climbing, cruising, and even descending without any issues. And as it was about to land at the Pokhara airport, one of the passengers started live streaming on Facebook from within the cabin. This passenger was a 25-year-old Indian man named Sanu Jaiswal. He was an adventurous young man who loved nothing more than exploring new places with his friends and experiencing their beauty firsthand. This time he had traveled to Nepal as a tourist with 3 of his close friends, and after enjoying Kathmandu to its fullest, the 4 of them were headed to Pokhara to experience paragliding. He was excited for the upcoming adventure and wanted to share this moment with his entire social circle, which is why he started streaming. What none of his viewers knew, however, was that this was going to be the last time they would see Sanu alive. Because just a minute after he started streaming, the situation took a terrifying turn as the camera became disoriented and the laughter turned to screaming. What followed was an extremely loud explosion. Somehow the phone stayed intact and continued streaming everything to Sanu's friends and family. But all they could see at this point was nothing short of horrific, with the entire camera feed getting covered in raging flames, and worst of all, the screaming suddenly coming to a halt. Something had gone horribly wrong, and it wasn't long before people found out exactly what. Flight 691 had somehow crashed into the riverbank a few hundred meters away from the airport. The crash also caused the remaining fuel to ignite, so by the time the rescue workers arrived on the scene, there was nothing left. The crash and the resulting fire had taken the lives of the 4 crew members and the 68 passengers. Sanu was among these casualties, as he unknowingly recorded his own final moments with no idea of the tragedy that was about to unfold. The only silver lining in this accident was that the plane barely missed the populated area right next to the river, which would have likely doubled if not tripled the losses. As for how things went so horribly wrong when the rest of the flight had been relatively smooth, a months-long investigation concluded that it was mostly due to human error. You see, the flight was originally supposed to land on runway 30, but for some unknown reason the pilot requested to land on the indirect runway 12. Now, the co-pilot, Anju Kariwada, was under training at the time, so it's possible the pilot requested the alternative route to teach her how to land at an awkward angle. Unfortunately, while the plane was turning, she misinterpreted a command and accidentally switched both engine propellers to the feathered position. This resulted in the engine stalling, the plane losing control, turning over, and crashing into the riverbank. Put simply, a single unfortunate mistake cost the lives of dozens of people and uprooted the lives of hundreds of family members. On June 16, 2013, 29-year-old Yevgeny Titov noticed a demolition happening near his work in Lipetsk, Russia. He was on his lunch break and had plenty of time to admire the work being done, so he took out his phone and started recording the demolition. Unfortunately, watching this demolition was about to become the worst decision of his life. Now, I should mention that Yevgeny was being as cautious as he could. He was standing at least twice as far from the building being destroyed as the two men in front of him. Yevgeny was also standing off to the side, since given the demolition method, the debris looked like it was going to fall towards the excavator. Tragically, that is not what happened. As the excavator pulled the wall beyond its tipping point, it didn't detach cleanly and rotated mid-air, sending massive bricks and other debris hurling toward Yevgeny. And while the men standing nearby were nearly missed, Yevgeny wasn't so lucky. He was thrown to the ground by flying debris, with the impact leaving him critically wounded while others rushed over to help. Paramedics were called and rushed him to the hospital. Sadly, it was too late. Yevgeny had suffered multiple complex fractures, damaged organs, and serious brain trauma. He passed away shortly after reaching the hospital, leaving his wife and 3-year-old daughter behind, all because he wanted to watch a building being demolished from what he believed was a safe distance. The company in charge of the demolition was charged with criminal negligence for failing to establish an effective perimeter around the worksite, with the video Yevgeny captured serving as a crucial piece of evidence. However, no legal penalty could rewind time or erase the damage that had already been done. 23-year-old Helen Wendy Nyabuto moved from Kenya to Canada on a 10-year study visa when she was just 20 years old. By 2022, she was close to completing her education while also working as a nurse and a personal support worker in the Toronto area. Things were going well for Helen, but things took a tragic turn in August of 2022 when a single accident wiped out everything she had worked so hard to build. She was hired as a personal support worker by someone living in the small town of Chatsworth, Ontario. She decided to rent a room in the only motel in Chatsworth to accommodate this job and started living there. The place wasn't too shabby, but the thing that caught Helen's eye was the motel's outdoor swimming pool. So on August 8, she found enough free time to go for a swim while also live streaming her experience on Facebook. She had the pool all to herself, and it was every bit as peaceful and relaxing as she'd hoped. However, just as she was starting to enjoy swimming, disaster struck. About 10 minutes after getting into the pool, she decided to swim toward the deep end. Unfortunately, just seconds after entering the deep end, she lost control and began drowning. She desperately called for help with the little air she had left. Tragically, there was no one to hear her. After struggling in the water for nearly a minute, Helen lost the fight and passed away just outside the range of her phone's camera, which continued streaming everything live on Facebook. Her last words stating, "Let me enjoy some water," took on a much darker meaning as her live viewers waited for someone to notice Helen. However, she remained unnoticed for nearly 3 hours until 2 other guests finally arrived at the pool and made the heartbreaking discovery while the live stream was still going. But these guests couldn't even believe what they were looking at first.
Why is there just a dead person in the line?
I know, that scared the shit out of me when I got in. I think it's a poodle or something.
That looks so realistic.
I know. I got in and I was like, is it somebody? Walk over there. Just walk over there.
Dead? Like, what if it's actually somebody dead? Because I'm not even trolling, that looks way too real.
They eventually realized the truth and immediately contacted the motel management. By the time someone checked on Helen, she was long gone. The live stream helped prove that this was nothing more than a terrible accident, though that did little to soften the blow for her family. As her father stated, "I watched the video, I cried, it's terrible." What made the tragedy even more devastating was that Helen was the sole breadwinner for her family. Without her, they couldn't even afford to bring her body home to Kenya. Fortunately, when the story made headlines, the internet came together and raised over 66,000 Canadian dollars to cover her funeral expenses and help her family in their time of need, giving a somewhat bright ending amongst an absolutely tragic situation. Armin Schmieder was a 28-year-old Italian man with a love for extreme sports. He originally started with skydiving and performed countless jumps across Europe. But as time went on, he started getting bored of skydiving and wanted to try something even more extreme. So, sometime in 2015, he switched from skydiving to wingsuit base jumping. Learning a brand new sport, especially one as dangerous as wingsuit base jumping, was quite risky. But Armin managed to pull through and became quite proficient at it in just 1 year. What he didn't know, however, was that his luck was about to run out. On the 26th of August 2016, Armin climbed to the summit of Mount Kangersteg in the Swiss Alps. On this day, he wanted to livestream his adventure, which started with him putting on the equipment and getting ready for the jump. But since he didn't have any streaming-capable action camera or a secure mount for his phone, he came up with an alternative solution, where once he was fully geared up, he told his viewers, "Today you fly with me," and put the phone in his pocket. All his viewers could see now was the darkness inside of his pocket, with some light bleeding through the fabric. But the audio was still clear enough to understand what was going on, like Armin counting down and making the jump.
2, 1.
Things seemed to be going as expected. However, about 20 seconds after he made the jump, his phone captured the sounds of Armin screaming, crashing into the mountainside, and rapidly rolling down the steep terrain. The fall ended with Armin landing in the middle of a cow pasture, now being completely silent. His viewers quickly contacted the authorities, who spent the next few hours looking for him. Unfortunately, by the time they found him, it was already too late. Armin had succumbed to his injuries and passed away. And while the Swiss authorities never released the true cause of his death, whether it was equipment failure or pilot error, at the very least, he died doing what he loved. Tavi Pustiu was a 29-year-old pop singer in Romania. He was described as one of Romania's rising music stars and was building a bigger following with each passing year. Unfortunately, before he had the chance to make it big, his career was abruptly cut short on August 15, 2020. He was riding through the city of Ploiesti in a car with his wife behind the wheel. And as they were making their way through the city, Tavi decided to livestream his travel from his phone. This stream was just him smoking, listening to music, smiling, and having plain fun. But then, a few minutes into the stream, his wife stopped the car at a crossing of sorts. She looked both ways before driving forward, only for the stream to suddenly cut off, with Tavi screaming in horror being the last thing viewers witnessed. As it turned out, the two were crossing a railway line. And while his wife did look both ways, she somehow missed the train barreling towards them. By the time they noticed, it was already too late. Their car was wrecked completely, resulting in Tavi tragically losing his life. What's crazy is that just a month before this crash, Tavi made a Facebook post stating, "One day the wrong train will take you to the right destination." His wife miraculously survived, but sustained several critical injuries. She was rushed to the hospital and put on life support, though I wasn't able to find any reports on what happened to her after that. The now tragic final memory Tavi left to his fans was him simply having fun and dancing to music. In January 2015, a group of New Zealand film students were recording outside their school at Auckland's Parnell railway station. The footage you're seeing now was recorded by a student named Chris Meir. For a few minutes, Chris and his friends were messing around and having fun as they filmed. But that's when the group spotted a man and a woman wearing creepy white masks hiding in the tall grass next to the station and staring ominously at the camera. As it was later revealed, Chris and his buddies first thought that the masked people were probably pranksters from the school trying to creep them out, which is why they can be heard laughing throughout the footage. However, the students later confessed that it was more so nervous laughter and that they were actually pretty terrified during the encounter. Disturbingly, looking at the footage, they noticed that the couple appeared to be armed. In some of the clips, it looks like one of them is holding a pistol.
Where's the other one? Where's the other one? I don't see him.
As soon as the suspects got a little too close for comfort, the group ran back to the main road, after which they reportedly saw a police chopper approaching the area of the incident. It's not entirely clear who called the cops that day, but based on my research, this wasn't the first time the couple had harassed the public with their creepy masks and weapons. Earlier that week, they had terrorized a woman at Auckland's Domain Park, but left before the police were able to arrest them. When the cops arrived at the train station, Chris and his friends gave them the report, after which the Auckland Police Department uploaded a Facebook post where they urged the suspects to come forward and warned civilians to stay far away from the masked couple if they saw them. They also cautioned that if they saw someone carrying what appeared to be a weapon, they had no way of knowing if the weapon was real or fake and would be forced to approach the situation as if it were real. Shortly after that, the suspects reportedly came forward to talk to the cops. Throughout the investigation, the authorities didn't release a whole lot of information to the public about who these people were, whether their weapons were real, or what their intentions were. But one thing we know for sure is that this wasn't just an innocent prank. In fact, when a lot of people online started accusing the students of staging a prank just to get attention, a spokesperson from the school came forward to clarify that the masked suspects had nothing to do with the institute. According to an article from Vice, a police spokesperson later confirmed that the weapons were fake. But I wasn't able to find any official confirmation of this, and to this day, not a lot of people know who the suspects were or why they were terrorizing the public for no reason. Whatever the case, it's a good thing Chris and his friends were able to get away before things took a turn for the worse. Near the base of Mount Fuji in Japan lies a forest that's known among the locals as the Sea of Trees. Interestingly, the entire forest grew out of a 30 square kilometer patch of hardened lava that was laid down by the last major eruption of Mount Fuji. A little more disturbingly though, over the years the Sea of Trees has become known as a place where people go to take their own lives. And if you venture far enough into the forest, it's not uncommon at all to find a body. Near the entrance of the forest, a sign written in Japanese reads, "Quietly think once more about your parents, siblings, and children. Please don't suffer alone, and first reach out." In July 2017, urban explorer and YouTuber Burbex ventured into the forest to see what he'd find, walking his viewers through his entire journey into the Sea of Trees. But even though the video starts out tame enough, just a few minutes into his exploration, the uploader comes across an abandoned bike, and that's when things get a little disturbing.
I'm only a few meters away from the road right now, but I've already found an abandoned bike. It's actually a pretty nice bike. Let's take a look at it. I don't think it's been here a long time. What do we got in here? And there's a packet for a knife. I think I've just found some kind of note in a bag. It says 1211. I can't quite make out. I think this is somebody's name just here, and I'm not sure what this means.
On top of the bike, Burbex finds an empty piece of packaging for a kitchen knife, and a few minutes later he comes across a note written on a plastic bag. The note translates to 1211 verified, Fuji Yoshida Police Station verified, meaning it's likely evidence of someone who abandoned their stuff to take their own life in the forest, confirmed by the local police station. It's incredibly haunting to think how many lives have been lost in that forest over the years, and even more disturbing to think that any random passerby could easily find the body while exploring the terrain. Over the years, the Japanese government has implemented several measures, such as placing security cameras near the entrance to track those who walk inside, as well as training volunteers to talk to the visitors who are thinking of taking their lives. Still, this hasn't stopped people from following through with it, and the fact that the media has really played a big part in sensationalizing the forest in recent years hasn't helped either. In early 2023, a man named David Meredith was taking his usual evening stroll through his neighborhood in Red Deer, Canada, when he suddenly saw a bull moose eating next to a tree. Hoping to catch a better glimpse, he hid behind the tree to watch. And that's when the moose turned around and started charging at him. To understand how incredibly dangerous this is, keep in mind that an adult male moose can run faster than 35 miles per hour, which is almost twice as fast as the max speed for the average human male. Even though moose aren't generally aggressive, they can easily trample and kill a human if they feel threatened, which is probably what happened here. Fearing for his life, David hoisted himself up the tree next to him to avoid getting stabbed by the moose's antlers.
He just ran me up a tree.
As soon as he was out of the moose's reach, he started recording. For about 30 seconds, the moose just stares at David, and you can hear the uploader's nervous breathing as he waits for the moose to leave. But shortly after, the moose starts charging back and forth with its head down, which is a clear sign that it's stressed and would probably trample David if he were to come down or fall from the tree. Based on what he mentioned to the news station that interviewed him a couple of days later, David stayed in the tree for over 10 minutes waiting for the moose to leave him alone. When asked how he climbed up the tree, he demonstrated how he pulled himself up by a flimsy-looking branch, which is honestly one of the most concerning parts of this whole situation. That branch breaks, and David would have been at the mercy of a very angry moose and might not have lived to tell the tale. Luckily, after seeing that David wasn't coming down, the moose finally gave up and ran off, thanks to which the uploader was able to come down safely after waiting it out for around an extra half hour. In February 2018, a man named Greg Harris uploaded a GoPro video of himself riding his ATV on an unnamed trail. For the first few seconds, the footage shows pretty much exactly what you'd expect from this kind of upload. But in the blink of an eye, something extremely disturbing interrupts Greg's ATV ride. If you didn't catch it, someone had set up a metal wire between the two trees, which got caught in the uploader's helmet and forced him to stop. It's pretty disturbing to think that if Greg hadn't been so lucky, he could have been decapitated by the wire. Fortunately, as mentioned in the video description, his speed along with the wire hitting his helmet instead of his neck caused it to break as he passed through it. It might seem shocking that anyone would even think of doing something as incredibly evil as setting up a lethal booby trap in the middle of an ATV trail. But sadly, it's actually pretty common in the dirt bike and ATV community. Sometimes these wires are set up by people trying to keep bikers off their property. Others are set up by psychos who get irritated by the noise and decide to use violence to fix the issue. And the rest are set up by people who are just messed up in the head and want to bring harm to others for no reason. In this case, it's impossible to tell who was responsible for setting up the trap. This is just one of those videos where if the wire was set up just slightly lower, the accident could have easily been fatal. Luckily, he was able to walk away with minimal injuries, and he used his video as a way to warn others to watch out for these kinds of traps, especially when riding through trees. Back in the summer of 2014, a man named Chris was biking in the mountains near Fernie, British Columbia, when he suddenly noticed what appeared to be an animal approaching him in the tall grass. Immediately, he realized it was a mountain lion, and that's when he started recording.
I don't know if you can see it, but there's a mountain lion. He's crouching in the grass. He's actually coming towards me.
At first, it's kind of hard to see where exactly the animal is, but as Chris walks towards the trail, you can see it emerging from the grass coming closer.
That is a mountain lion. And he's stalking me.
Even though mountain lion sightings are rare, they have been known to attack people in certain situations. And let's just say, if you see one stalking you in the tall grass, slowly approaching as it stares you down, you can be pretty certain that you're in danger. About 2 minutes into the footage, the lion starts walking a little faster, and Chris does the one thing you never do with a mountain lion by turning his back and starting to run.
Hey, Mr. Mountain Lion. How are you doing? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. I am much bigger than you.
Over the next couple of minutes, Chris tries to get the animal to go away, but it only walks around him and continues to stalk him, staring him down in the tall grass near the entrance to the woods. A couple of minutes later, the uploader manages to take a few steps toward the main trail back to his car, but he doesn't get too far before the mountain lion cuts him off again.
Stay back. Stay there. I'm not afraid of you.
Fortunately, after a few moments of tension, the mountain lion turns around and disappears into the trees. Being in a position like that has to be downright terrifying, especially when you consider that the only reason the lion didn't attack was because it didn't want to. And had it felt more threatened, it easily could have done some serious damage. Thankfully, it was just a close call and Chris was able to walk away from the terrifying encounter unharmed. In March 2019, a 5-year-old girl from Fairlawn, New Jersey was playing with her friends near a creek in a wooded area behind their home right off Route 208. This was an area the family knew very well, as they'd been living there for 13 years, and the girl's father, Dave Kuroda, and his wife felt completely safe letting their kid play in the woods behind their house. But at some point during that particular afternoon, the girl came across a pile of clothing in the woods, after which she immediately ran back to tell her dad what she had found. Strangely, the clothes appeared to have been cut off a person's body, and there were suspicious red stains all over the tattered, shredded outfit. After confirming the bundle consisted only of women's clothing, Dave called the Bergen County Sheriff's Office and reported the incident, feeling like it was just too out of the ordinary for a random pile of cut-up clothes to appear near the entrance of the woods so close to his home. Even though this was the first time their daughter saw the clothes, it appeared they had been in the woods for several months, which explains some of the excessive wear and tear, but not the suspicious cuts and stains all over the outfit. Immediately, Fairlawn police started asking the public if they could identify the clothes, hoping that it was just a prank rather than something more sinister. Unfortunately, nobody came forward, and until the clothes can be linked to some sort of crime or to a victim, they can't be accepted for testing by the police department. To this day, the cops from the Fairlawn Police Department haven't been able to match the clothing to anyone in particular. And at this point, all we can do is hope that whoever those clothes belonged to did not come to the harrowing fate that the dark reddish stains imply.